Next up, we have Dr. David Baume from the University of London, and he's going to talk to us today about keeping it good and simple.
Mid-1970s, me about to undertake my first standard dive. We were teaching underwater technology at North East London Polytechnic, and we found ourselves, rather to our surprise, running a kind of informal correspondence course for engineers working in the diving industries offshore. One story to bring this to life. I received a letter one morning saying, could you teach me about diving safety? It's a valid question. We were killing divers in the North Sea on quite a scale in the 70s. So I wrote a study guide in the usual format that we developed. The learning outcome: by the end of this package, on completion of this package, you'll be able to analyse risks and hazards in your equipment, setting and procedures, and come up with recommendations for making things better and safer. The kind of learning outcome you'd hope for on a package called Diving Safety. 10 or 12 questions which really got them to dig deep into their own setting, into their own practice. This wasn't diving safety studies, this was about their safety, their life as divers. So that was the study guide. About a side of A4, the study guide was, by the way. Outcomes, questions. I had a good set of resources on diving safety anyway. The package was in the afternoon post. It took me an hour to write the study guide and an hour to photocopy the various magazine articles and sources, including a report on our work on diving communications. 2 hours. In the feedback, people sent us their answers. They also told us how long they'd spent on the package. Typically, this package took somewhere between 10 and 24 hours to complete. And they've said they found it very useful. But remember, 2 hours production time, many tens, if not hundreds of hours of student learning generated by it. I would claim that was efficient. I would claim that was good because it worked and they liked it. I would claim it was simple. Let's see how that might play out in the current situation. So this is keeping it good and simple, and this is me. We're so used, aren't we, to having virtual elephants in real rooms. I thought it'd be a nice change to have a real elephant in a virtual room. There's something very calming about elephants. I found in my 2 or 3 minutes with Elizabeth here this glorious feeling that everything was possible. I don't know where that came from, but it was a beautiful moment. So good. What can we say about good? What can we say about good education? People graduating at the moment over the next few years, apart from doing all the usual graduate things, are basically also going to have to save the planet. So they're going to need to be quite a distinctive, special bunch of people. What kind of capabilities will they need? Here's one possible list. Both meanings of conscientious. They will do what they will have committed to do. Once they accept a mission, they will undertake it. But it also means they have to be blessed and cursed with conscience, with a sense of what's right and wrong. Anyway, some qualities of graduates for the 21st century. Other statements of quality are possible, other initial letters for qualities are possible. But just for a moment, looking at that list, take a minute and answer the question at the top of the screen, just 60 seconds or so. Do it in chat, do it in your head, do it in your notebook, whatever. I'll time the 60 seconds, you're all right. So there's one dimension of good, leading to graduates with good capabilities. Crucially, the one at the bottom of the right, they don't just know large numbers of things, they have these capabilities. How are they going to develop these capabilities? Well, fortunately, we know a few things about what makes good learning happen. Eileen Scanlon and I pulled together a couple of years ago now a review of the reviews of the reviews of what we know about learning, and there's a summary of the chapter available at that link. I'm not crystal clear what this character is actually learning. I think he's learning that life isn't fair. This was a lake yesterday and now it's a solid sheet of ice. I think he or she is also learning to pay very close attention to small things that might perhaps be significant. But moving away from one bird and generalizing rather more broadly, what do we know about what makes good learning happen? If these conditions apply, students are likely to learn and learn well and become enthusiastic, even passionate learners. So again, for you, because I practice what I preach about active learning, active thinking, answer the questions at the top of the screen, again in your notes or in chat as you wish. Is this how it is for your students? Is it always like this? If not, then what percentage of the time is it like that? Give you a minute for that. And another minute for that one, because this is the important part. You've done the audit. Now, what are you going to do next? How are you going to make it even more like this for your students? Another minute. So we've done good. This is what we know about good. I hope you found some ideas in there which you can adapt in your own particular settings. These things play out differently everywhere, but it's nice to have some common starting points. What about simple? I made the case at the start that correspondence course in underwater engineering, I realise how unlikely that sounds, but I made the case that was simple because it was a very, very simple format. But technology's moved on, things have moved on. How does that work now? What are the key elements? What's essential? Here's a possible account of a simple approach, a possible account of the key elements for effective learning, whether online, offline, blended, both, hybrid, whatever. I really must learn to get my technology under control. Good. That's one quality it needs. Learning also, I think, also needs to have learning outcomes like this, because without that, everybody's in the dark, nobody knows what's going on. Life's probably too short to write resources these days, but there's some great stuff out there and some rubbish, and offering students pointers to good sources, I think, is a valuable task. We're not librarians, but we're certainly curators these days, among our other skills. Learning can be a lonely business. It shouldn't be. Take yet another minute. How are these ideas working out in your practice? Or how could they work out in your practice? What are you going to do with these? My enthusiastic friend will support and advise you, or just sit there and look at you admiringly. Take a minute. I said I was going to show a real elephant in a virtual room, and I did that at the start, but there are two conventional virtual elephants around here. They're closely related, probably cousins. One of those virtual elephants is complexity, and the other is technology. We can't go back to the mid-1970s. We wouldn't want to, for so many reasons. But what I've tried to do here is talk about what I've learned from distance learning, and that is it can be simple, it can be powerful, or to turn it on its head, it doesn't have to be complex. It certainly doesn't have to be as complex as we sometimes make it. I'm a fan of technology, I'm a critical fan of technology, and complexity is sometimes necessary, but not always. So to close, enough of ostriches, it is true that you can do this kind of work on your own, but as both Chris and Diana suggested, it's much better to do it together. Thank you.